Tarlin smiles. It is a bold decision, matron. One that none in your esteemed position, I think, has ever done in the Drow histories. I, for one, cannot remember when such has been has happened before. He smiles.
That is a compliment, Alinari.
Looks at all of you, and sort of she ignores Will in it, and says, "We must not forget, Rao as we are, there are other beings as magnificent or more so than us. Not of this plane, be it, but our patron is one such being." Her eyes sort of shine. Drow are far along the line towards perfection, but we can still become stronger, become more. She looks. One should never be content with what one is. Ambition is paramount.
At any rate, that's my law basis suggestion. Racial equality.
That word.
Added it to the list. Tarlin looks over to the others of the family.
God damn it, Grimith, that was my one.
Oh. Well.
Like, I actually spoke to Jonas about this and he can confirm that.
Be anyone who suggested. I mean, if Rae'nkalar suggested, I think Alinari would disown him. Get away from me!
Probably the person who she would expect. I mean, he sits with the gnomes and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's over there by the weird people.
All we need is Tarlin and Miku to switch places.
Yeah.
But Alinari needs Miku around. He's a good Mikuloid.
And you need to have your money nearby.
I think
he likes the Mikuloid because he doesn't question anything. And when he does, he's very polite about it.
I still think they should shift, or at least the torturer and Tarlin.
Why is the torturer to be sent? He's the people's representative.
Because he's creepy. Yes. He's a torturer.
No, he's the people. He's the master of the lash now.
Sure, he wears long, silken black silk gloves and such.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Very, very fancy.
So yes, Tarlin is looking expectantly at the rest of the family.
Zin hesitates for a moment, but then says, whatever we do for our law basis, we should make sure that no individual or group can ever rise to a position of so much power that they can rival us. We know best, after all.
Alinari sort of looks at Zin and says, we do. Making good use of the plural for ruler.
It's pretty easy what Tristan's going to answer, because all she has to do is just quote Garrus.
Looks at Zin and says, of course, that is to be understood. You wish to limit their ability to form such organizations, or do you wish to limit the effect they can have upon government?
Tarlin clears his throat. It should also then be considered that we have forwarded the principle of meritocracy. He sort of smiles. Of course, nothing can replace the House of Vytharia. He smiles. But would a limitation of ambitious and powerful individuals to officially stop them from rising to power seems to go against some of the notion of the meritocracy, does it not?
Well, the limitation does not have to be obvious nor official.
It seems, of course, obvious that the title of ruler is to be inherited by, she sort of, stuff that says, my oldest or favorite female heir. However, any other position on the council will be given to he who is most worthy. I do agree that we should not, however, allow the formation of certain interest parties and such to have a large, or to hold a certain role. It must be individuals who are capable. They cannot rely upon the capability of others. If you're only strong because you receive the help of stronger parties, then truly you are not strong.
The individual strength over group might.
Basically, we don't want political parties or like worker unions and stuff like that.
As such oligarchies, should they form as we continue to grow in strength, will be broken in one fashion or another. The concentration of power within this wealthy bourgeois, which might seem fitting for Svirfneblin or even other societies, should we integrate them in the future, cannot come to pass. For after all, given our reputation, they will see as they could somehow inspire rebellion, lead our subjects against us, and then we will have to expend undue resources crushing them. Better to snuff them out before they leave the cradle.
Well, there you go, Talon. I'm sure you, First Sword, can make some contingency plans for the eventual formation of such.
He smiles and nods. Yes, it would be me working with the esteemed mistress of whispers for such a what's the word I'm looking for?
Endeavor.
For such an endeavor. Yes, Miles. It is certainly possible to keep such things under control in one fashion or the other. Then let me ask you this. He looks around. If this is to be one of the things that fall into my purview, how would we look upon other formation of, say, cults or worships that are not of Agaris?
Well, Bertel looks at him and then looks to Ivy and says, "It is sorry. It is important that we have constant information on all such groups. Who leads them? Where do they go? What do they do? I believe a network of informants placed among the civilians would be very useful in this matter. Perhaps have some paid, unofficially, of course, to tell us what goes on, and then cross-reference that with the similar other informants, so we constantly know what certain people of threat are doing. Formations of such a thing, of such a nature, could be useful at first, as people who join them would then be within our spotlight."
Ivy nods slowly and says, "Well, matron, I have, as of now, dedicated much of my short time in this position to try to establish some of my old contacts in Festivault. It is a small city, but I do have some friends that help me keep an eye on some of the more stranger elements and more dangerous elements. For now, I have dedicated most of my time to try to suppress some of the unrest of the current rule." She nods. "I will, of course, endeavor to keep more spies and more informants out there. It is a slow process, however. One must be very careful when one selects one's spies."
Well, there he nods. Good. Looks, as I said, organizations should be allowed to form in some small manner until they become a threat. Of course, unofficial organizations or gatherings or lodges should be kept under tight eye. He looks to Zen. "Brother, you suggested such. And to what extent do you see us stopping them? At what point do they become less a useful tool for finding dangerous elements and more an actual concern?"
There might not be a specific point at which they become too dangerous. It may vary from organization to organization. An organization of statue makers might not be as dangerous as an organization of workers in general. Any larger group of individuals should at least be monitored and if we deem it necessary, dealt with.
Then, Zen, let us speak in concrete absolutes rather than general vagaries. Take the Stonecutters Guild, led by Tamar, even the stones listen. What would you suggest?
Zen frowns and considers. That specific organization, even right now, seems troublesome. I'm not sure that we can afford to deal with it yet, but we need to do it eventually. I do not have any specifics right now, as it is unlikely to be my responsibility anyways. As he looks to Ivy, rather.
Oh, Mary.
But I do think that we should deal with it sooner rather than later.
Elinary speaks up.
You okay?
Yeah, excuse me.
Oh, jeez.
It's only minor dying.
Eleanor speaks up and begins coughing. This whole, loud voice thing just isn't for her.
And she speaks up.
Uh-oh. That's not good. I think Manaki was the one who was hosting the call, too.
And hello,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear it fine. Well, heard
members
Manaki.
registered. Their tenants and their goals and their activities must be registered, and we must keep all these documents with us. In this way, no secret organization or no organization doing secretive things could be excused, as their very existence would be against the law. However, legitimate organizations, if they were to become dangerous, would be easy to clamp down upon, as we would have complete information of their dealings. Look, the burden of making this paperwork, of course, would fall to them, and they would then deliver it to us. If they refuse to disclose such information, they must, of course, be disbanded. However, if they have nothing to hide, then they have nothing to fear.
Though, of course, our Mistress of Whispers can always attempt to verify the documents.
And, of course.
She nods. Sandra at this point says, my lords, you spoke about Tamar and the Stonecutters Guild. To move against them is precarious. He holds much sway in the community. Should anything happen to him, the repercussions could be quite violent.
Neri nods and says, if we move against anyone, there will be lots of violence, I can assure you that. She sort of looks at the council and says, as of now, it is not a punishment. We simply allow them to be integrated fully and really into a lawful nation that will keep their dealings safe and aid them in them so far as they're good for the kingdom. It is not a punishment, it is mere law. Surely they would not wish to break the law for the formality of documenting their dealings. If they would do such a defiance, then I do not think they're worth keeping anyway. She looks to Talon.
Talon smiles. Alright, so I sum that up as Units and Guilds allowed requires official sanction.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an appropriate representation of what you discussed?
You could go with something sort of like anti-oligarchy. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. Things that form, and yeah, we will keep a heavy hand on it. And with this, I mean, you know, if they begin making trouble, we will know everyone inside of it. And if they don't, then we will surely find out before they grow too big, and we can take them out because they're lawbreakers.
All right. suggestions from Rain or Trislan?
Not. I doubt talking to them is gonna help because I know Tristan has talked to. I forgot his name, the stonecutter.
No, I meant
And-
specifically for guidelines.
Give the whole kingdom, you're proposing an idea.
No.
From my end, all I can really propose is ensuring that the warden can keep active patrols everywhere. Crime should be a minimum if we can keep it that way. Strict
Harsh.
laws in place and harsh punishments where necessary.
Yes, Qual seems to nod slowly at this. So yes, that is the general outlook, I think, as well. Certain basic rights might be wise to enforce upon this, among policies in this council, such perhaps as the right to one's property. He looks around. In my experience, much violence and criminality stems from unsecure or nebulous ownership. He smiles slightly. If you are not sure that you can turn yourself to the law keepers of a society when something gets stolen from you or your home gets invaded, then you might take it into your own hands. And as such, this fosters vigilantism and lawlessness.
Yes, that would definitely be an issue. So setting up some form of, well, actually a right to property, but ensuring that the populace knows that the government itself should be able to help deal with the general problems that would plague them, should help keep them in a calm state in our rulership.
Obviously, knowledge of the laws devised by various houses throughout our history would be of some use. If you are feeling particularly adventurous, you could even compile and adapt the Zvift-Neblin law, which those living in Fasterwald are familiar with, as you are the executor, to ensure that the laws are followed. Perhaps it would behoove you to devise laws with which you may enforce. I am not so imperious as to be the arbiter of creating laws which you might find impossible to actually apply to everyday life.
Qual corrects an eyebrow and says, if my lords then suggest me as the writer of these laws, then I will consider doing so. I have not done so before. My expertise is keeping order in a border keep, not a kingdom, however.
That is
Qual and says, if such laws are to be made, my signature would be required, and I shall only give two laws with which I agree.
He slowly nods.
the Qual. Of course, as you said, you're only used to doing it in such a small area, but it should be quite easy to you realize the normal issues that would come up, and you'll be able to quite easily, as problems arise, you can see if they require dealing with, and if so, dealing with them one at a time should not be a big issue.
We understand that you are not for theoretical pursuits of some rubbish legalese, nor do we actually intend this kingdom to be run this way. Your practicality will be of assistance in this matter, and should anyone attempt to flout the law in any sort of way which we deem unnecessary, we will simply crush them. We are no goody society.
He smiles. Of course not, my lord. But it is good for the society to know what laws that govern them. That way they can keep themselves in check.
Of course, in this instance your practicality will be of use in the matter, for you'll be able to cut to the heart of the matter to see what's important.
Culinary nonchalant is, of course, the primary law. Is my word. However, a general law for the common people would, of course, be of good use that could give them some measure of stability and some measure of security in their everyday life.
Quite nods. I will take this matter into careful consideration then, my lords.
Strive for stability and discipline. They should know that we do not tolerate foolishness.
Of course, should you see yourself to be unworthy of the increased burden of this position, Lord Quall.
He shoots Rillinid a somewhat defiant glance. Do not worry, Lord Rillinid. I am capable of handling such a position.
Excellent.
It is, as always, a question of resources. Seems to, write something on a paper in front of him, but it says nothing more.
Elinari looks to Tristan, I suppose. Well, what should we write this one down as?
I just put it down as a few words. If someone can distill it down better, I guess that would be good.
I guess it would be like regulated law system or something like that.
Strong legalism, something like that.
Legalism.
Bureaucracy now. We cut through the red tape and just crush people, yes. Here are the laws. There's no arguing about it.
Exactly.
Guilty until the effective bribe's been paid, Elinari.
Exactly, right?
Elinari can pardon anyone for anything. Except, of course, high treason and blasphemy. Those are unforgivable.
Would you want to put something in like a court system, basically, like a legal system? If someone is a crime, can they defend themselves, or are they just dragged in front of like a draconic, draconian?
Well, I think I think it's wonderfully like corruptive and absolutely evil and befitting to be the guy who's writing these laws, to be the guy who ends up being the executor and like the arbiter of these laws. In time, I guess maybe like once we get a steward, we can have like someone be like the official like judge who like walks around. But until then, no, it's how much do you piss off Captain Tetherquall, right?
So basically, there's no system of appeal. Basically, if you're suspected for something and there is some kind of proof, Quall takes you out.
If Mary doesn't know who you are, she really doesn't care about you.
Like
knows who you are. She might take an interest, good or bad.
Yeah. Like if you've got like concrete evidence, if you can like present it in such a way, and if you can like appeal to, Tetherquall, Lord Warden, then by all means go for it. But this government's certainly not going to protect you.
If you do something bad, then you have already. No one's innocent, right?
If you're an intelligent and resourceful enough to somehow get to actual Team PC and like pitch this beautiful plea complete with all sorts of awesome things to woo Elinari, then sure, yeah.
And if you're very useful, very important, that will. If you're doing really well, if you have a lot of merit, then of course you'll be more valuable, and maybe your punishment will be less than for those who are just useless commoners, because those they have no. You can't steal from them or murder them, but if they steal from someone, that's just
In that case, I think great dire punishment would be like anyone who should violate these laws. Like most of it will refer to indentured in immediate servitude, perhaps in the Kobold Slate Camp in Vathis.
So say that someone shows up and say that someone broke into my house, or someone murdered my wife. Can that person turn to anyone for basically legal or police assistance, or is he effectively left to his own devices?
Certainly, there will be legal assistance in that regard. Like, if you're in Fastfall, you can, of course, go to the governor, who is going to be given these laws, and, he is given his own freedom to enact things to ensure stability, and so he can make his own decrees so long as they do not go against us. Mm-hmm. In Vathis in particular, well, I mean, you're right there at the seat of power. I mean, if you want to make the journey and, someone from the council is willing to hear your plea.
Yes, you will get some. I mean, basically, because whoever murdered her will most likely be harshly punished. If it's found out that you did it, of course, you will be harshly punished because there is no acceptance for troublemakers.
Sure, but basically, what I'm asking, a normal gnome has in principle somewhere to turn to ask for help. Maybe he needs to bribe his way through that system, but there is somewhere to turn.
And he'll have to have power of his own, like it being a meritocracy. Like if your wife were murdered and that guy was powerful enough to do it without being caught and disappear without a trace, then maybe that was supposed to happen. And if you don't have the merit to do anything about it, if you can't even get in to see the governor, if you can't even call the guard with a diplomacy check to help you, then maybe you suck, and maybe you don't deserve anything you have.
It is basically that the hierarchy of the state will, it'll fall into place at the constant competition. And if you're important, we will know about you. If you're not, then you're not important.
Okay.
I get what you're asking us, Jonas, but we're not dedicated lawmakers, much less our characters.
No, but I'm asking for I don't asking for specific laws. I'm asking for more of a general feel, like the basic infrastructure. So
consider it the guild too.
All right, there we go. That's all I needed to know.
I just thought of that.
He failed to show up in court. How weird.
I just thought of that. I was like, I know you'll understand that. I know Manaki will understand that. The guild too. It's the guild too.
There we go. All right,
Guilty,
now I understand perfectly.
That's
If
perfect.
uncertain family were to sit on the entire thing, then we might actually want to look down at them.
It's a no man's land out there. You better be freaking sure what you're doing out there, because man, if it's guild 2, it's harsh.
Just like, you're going into court. I'm gonna put the lenient laws on.
That is why the farmer is going to work as hard as he can. Work himself to death in the field, because that's the only way he can be useful enough for his family to feel safe.
Yep. There we go. And
If he works hard enough, if he does well enough, then of course he will have, he'll have a good and comfortable life. If he slacks off and does nothing, then he will have a really bad life.
And while we officially disapprove of troublemaking, we also really support the strong undercurrent of vengeance and, power. So, I mean, if you can get back at the person who wronged you, and you can do it in such a way that we never figure it out, awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote that down. Don't get caught.
That's Drow generally. If we find out, then you were bad.
Yeah, and then need to be punished.
Mm-hmm.
We'll punish harshly.
That's right. There we go.
Confiscation of goods, for example, to the state.
We wish we thought of that earlier. That metaphor. Guild 2.
All right.
Trislin.
Guild 2. Never played that game, but I know what you're talking about.
I think you're the only one here who hasn't played it other than Time, actually. You might not.
I have not played it.
There's a few really good LPs of it out there. Me and Manaki, we're going to do it someday.
See, now that's on.
Feel free to call me and I'll join.
That's true. That's that's on tape now. Well, it's gonna be glorious. We're gonna burn down the whole damn city again. But yeah, we have one slot left on the guidelines.
Trislin, if you have anything that you would want to put on there.
Free candy for everyone.
No, she is not gonna do that. That would
I
be.
think all would like die.
I think that is what we used it. What we told the gnomes. Is that the kind of leader you want who buys candy? So she's not gonna do that. No, I don't. Tristan does not have anything to add at the moment.
Well, I mean, Elinari, well, there's something at least related to Trislan's station that could be.
What's that?
That's Elinari's at least idea of basically a one-party system where the cult of Agaris is the sort of prime recruitment ground for new talent to serve in public offices.
The encouragement of the Garrus for larger
Basically, imagine the East German communist state. Instead of the communist
I
party,
was about to say
you
that.
have the cult of Agaris.
Or the Nazi Party, or
Yeah,
Soviet Union.
whatever you really want to go with. That sort of thing, everyone sort of will want to get in on it and learn about Agaris and show that they, that they're up for the tenant, even if they don't really believe it. She's a demon lord. She doesn't care as long as you do what she wants you to do. And Elena really feels the same way. If you live up to these and if you show that you're capable of doing it, it shows some dedication. And maybe that's why we should go look for talent.